afternoon. It's episode 3 of Kickin Tyres. I'm Adam Gray and I'm joined by my co-host, Tim Barnes-Clay. Tim, how are you doing?
Adam, I'm really all right. I'm actually really happy today. Makes a change, doesn't it? How are
The
you?
weather.
That's
The
what it
weather,
is.
the weather, yeah, definitely, yeah. I'm good, thank you. Tired, but really good, and it's nice to come back to the UK to sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been as far as you, but I've been away as well this week and it was really sunny. And yeah, the sun continues and it does lift the mood and the spirit, doesn't it?
It definitely does, yeah. No, it was nice landing at Newcastle on Wednesday, and the weather being sunny. I just thought, oh, thank God for that. You know, I'm not coming back to rain. But yeah, we've both been on our travels. I've been a little bit further than you, but I think that's what this episode's going to be all about, isn't it? We're going to be talking about our travels, what we've been up to since we recorded our last episode of the podcast, and some other bits and bobs I think we should discuss as well. So why don't you kick us off? Where have you been in the world?
Well, before I sort of start all that, birthday girl, it's not referring to me. I mean, it
Oh,
could
I was
do,
going to
couldn't it?
say happy birthday. I didn't
Could.
realize it was your birthday. Sorry.
Just thought I'd stick that banner up there. Yeah, it's my daughter,
Nice.
if you hadn't guessed.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a splash of colour, doesn't it, to the podcast? But where have I been? Well, nowhere that far away at all. France, Marseille. And been over there with Stellantis or the brands Peugeot and Citroën. But the star of the show was the new Peugeot E-408. And what a really good looking car that is. It was out there in a few powertrains, all electrified, but I was interested in purely doing the E-408. Pure electric range, if I can remember, I think around 283 miles, which probably is its only letdown because the car is a bit of a mishmash of great good looks. It's a sedan or saloon, but more of a fastback. So I guess you could call it a crossover. To me, it looks like a more of a fastback. Really good looking car.
Mm.
And when you drive it, it's a very sort of long distance, comfortable, pretty quick cruiser. And I'm sure you've driven around the streets of Marseille and around the coast, all around Nice and there. I mean, a lot of those roads are really, really narrow. And this is a fairly big car. So it wasn't the most relaxing of test drives when, you ended up in those tight spots and everybody was thinking, don't let it be me that wrecks the alloy wheels. Luckily I didn't. All was good. But when we got on the faster bits, some of the twisty bits, and even some mountain passes that was blooming scary, with the smallest section of crash barrier and then nothing for about 600 feet down. That focuses the brain, I can tell you, and the eyes on the road ahead. So altogether, a really, really good car. I was out there shooting a video with Which EV, a
Hmm.
channel, a good colleague of ours that James Morris is editor of. And yeah, we loved it. And as I say, the only real criticism of this good-looking, comfy, new Peugeot E-408 is really the range. I think should be sort of over 300 miles, but it was fine. Really good launch. Generally, it was a bit of a different launch. We started off by going to the cinema, can you believe, in Marseille,
Hmm.
where we were shown a series of adverts about the new model coming out. Not a great place to put journalists initially who'd been up since the crack of dawn to get a flight. And straight away, you're in a really beautiful, big, but very dark, cozy cinema. And you can guess what happened. The whole back row that I was on pretty much started to snooze and snore, the guy next to me.
Was
So,
that James?
oh yeah, well, I can't say who it was. Yeah, well, it could have been. And anyway, it was fine. We were treated to some popcorn, sweets, and everything else, and off we went again in the car. We soon woke up in the sun and ended up in Provence Studios, where some great backlots, stages, and what have you. Probably know France. It's got a great movie industry all around there.
Hmm.
And we were shown the old Peugeot 406, sort of 1990s slash early 2000s model, which had starred in the Taxi movie franchise. Don't know if you've ever seen it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. the original one, not the sort of remade American
Yeah,
crap, but the actual
yeah,
proper French hardcore comedy slash thriller, I guess you could call it, um, where you've got this sort of ridiculously modified 406, massive deep spoiler on the front, one on the back, um, loads of sort of bits and bobs, pipes and what have you, sticking out of the roof with taxi with Marseille on it. And then inside you open the glove compartment and there are all these little controls you can flick. And then I
yeah.
think it was Taxi 2, wings came out of the side of it. Oh, that's bad of me, isn't it, eh? Look at that. I've left my phone on, it's gone off. Someone's ringing me.
Oh,
Oh,
ele-
weirdly from France.
oh,
Weirdly from France.
that'll be one of your parking fines or a speeding ticket, probably.
I'm really hoping it's not, but the irony, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Nice ringtone, by the way.
oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, get back to where you once belonged. That's what it is. Um, so a really good time. And yeah, we ended up going down this mountain pass as well. But as I say, great time. Not as tiring though, with only an hour and a half, 2 hour flight as you, because I at least was in Europe, where you were somewhere completely different on this planet.
Yes, as I mentioned in the last episode, I was on my travels to China. So I flew from Newcastle to Guangzhou, which is in the south of China, right down near Hong Kong, um, via Dubai. And yeah, got there and I was really excited. The jet lag didn't really hit me, to be honest, when I got there. But the first, I was in Guangzhou for 2 days. Then we flew internally from um, Guangzhou to Beijing. But yeah, the first 2 days in Guangzhou, I was on a trip with XPENG or Xiaopeng, as they call it in China. And the purpose of our time in Guangzhou was to visit the factories that they have there. So we did two factory visits. The first one was one of their car factories. So we got to see the inner workings of that and, the production lines. And as you can probably imagine, there's actually very few people in those factories working. Um, it's mostly operated by robots. So it's very impressive to see these robots welding and moving, bits of cars around and them going from, one station to the next station and so on. It's only really at the end of the line where the production line where there are humans doing, the checks on these vehicles. But very impressive. And then we moved on to a second factory, which is the factory where Airage, it's called, which is part of XPeng or Xiaopeng. They are manufacturing a flying car. So we got to see that the flying cars being manufactured. Apparently, they're sold out for the next few years. No surprise. They've been kind of they're sold out with buyers acquiring them from the Middle East. But yeah, really interesting to see again how XPeng Xiaopeng have adopted them car manufacturing kind of techniques and they've put that into the manufacture of these flying cars whilst also kind of implementing other kind of manufacturing techniques which are actually from the aviation industry. So it's like a mishmash of manufacturing techniques and they overlap. And then we actually got to see a demo of the flying car flying, which was great. It was up for a couple of minutes, and it was moving around with a female pilot behind the joystick, and it was really really impressive. Um, I think. I mean, I went to China with a very open mind. However, I did have kind of my own thoughts or expectations of what it would be like, and it transpires that it's totally different to what I thought. For the better in many ways. Um, But in terms of the flying car, not cheap. Looking at about $300,000 for one of them, and it fits into the back of like probably the best way of describing it would be like an MPV, like a people carrier kind of thing, and the back door of it, the boot opens, and it takes about 5 minutes for your flying car to kind of fold its wings, its rotors up, its propellers up, and then tuck itself away. And the car actually recharges the flying car, so you probably get 20 to 25 minutes off a full charge of the flying car. But apparently, the car that powers it can charge it 6 times. So you would just have to come back from wherever you'd gone on a little sightseeing visit, come back, charge for probably 10, 15 minutes, and then you can be back on your way again for another 20, 25 minutes. So
Yeah.
I think in principle, it's a fantastic idea.
Mm.
And it's great to see this kind of technology and happening. And clearly it's proving to be incredibly successful on the basis that they're already sold out for however many years. I think 5 years or something.
Wow.
They're kind of sold out for.
It would focus the mind, wouldn't it? The range, if you knew you only had 15 to 20, 25 minutes in the air,
Yeah,
that would focus. I don't know if I could relax. I'd be looking at my range the whole time and seeing if the back.
yeah, because you've got
Surely
to
it doesn't
take into
suddenly.
account that it's there and back, haven't you, to get back to
Yeah.
charge it.
I mean, it
Um,
doesn't suddenly drop from the sky, does it, if the charge runs out? Or
No,
does it?
no, it kind of powers down from what I'm led to believe, in like a structured way, so it wouldn't just drop out of the sky. And likewise, if there are any technical issues whereby one of the rotors, for example, stop working, it can balance itself out, like very much in the same way that a plane can lose an engine and it can still continue to fly. Um, so and this is, as I said, I think it's fantastic, and it really shows what the future holds for tech, especially what's coming out of China. Um, it is a lot of money. There's no, to the average Joe blogs like myself and yourself, Tim. $300,000 is a heck of a lot of money to buy something that only flies, 20 to 25 minutes. However,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
speed at which technology is evolving and developing in China is beyond belief. So I have no concern in my mind that it won't be too long before you're looking at maybe 40, 45 minutes of flying time. It's got two batteries, the flying car, two 25 kilowatt hour batteries. Um, so that's why the flying time is what it is. Obviously, it's a balancing act though, because you put bigger batteries in, they become heavier. Again, that can lower flying time and power,
Mm.
etc. So it's about developing it in the right way and a bit of a balancing act. But needless to say, incredibly impressive. I put a video of it on my personal social. So if you want to have a look, Adam Gray Cars, I am as my social handle across my platforms, and I've put a video on there if you want to check it out for yourselves. But then, yeah, from Guangzhou to Beijing, internal flight, got to Beijing, full day of workshops covering the flying car, covering um, VLA 2.0, which is XPENG Xiaopeng's full self-driving technology, and then and their humanoid robots as well. And then on the final day of the trip, it was 4 days. We got to visit the Beijing Auto Show, which was I knew it would be big, but I didn't realize how big it was going to be. Um, you need a good few days to try and tackle that. I got round probably about a quarter of it, not even a third of it. And I checked on my phone to see how many steps I'd put in because my feet were on fire. And at one point during the day, I'd done 5.5 miles of walking indoors,
Wow.
which is
And you'd only
crazy.
seen a fraction of
And
the show and you've done that.
I'd only seen a fraction of it.
That paints
So
pictures, doesn't it? Knowing that,
it does.
blimey.
It It does, yeah. But yeah, we attended a press conference with XPENG's press conference and a Q&A session with their CEO and the vice president, and got to learn more about kind of what their plans are globally, etc. Because obviously XPENG is a brand that's just come to the UK, hasn't it? Not long arrived here in the
Yeah.
UK. So yeah, it was great. But and then I left the auto show early to go back to the hotel where I was staying, because it was my turn to test drive the VLA 2.0, which is XPeng's full self-driving tech. And I've I've t- I've got nothing to compare it to because I haven't driven Teslas or tested Tesla's FSD. But I was with plenty of other journalists who have, and I kind of got their opinion on what FSD is like. And I suppose wrongly of me, I probably formed an opinion in my mind of what XPeng's VLA 2.0 was. But that came back to bite me in the backside, because when I actually got behind the wheel of the next P7 Ultra, it is the car, a fantastic looking car. Again, I've put pictures of it on my socials if you want to check it out. Um, I was just absolutely blown away. I expected, why I was blown away is I expected the VLA 2.0 tech to be quite jerky, and I don't know about you, but I'm not a very good passenger in a car. And if
Oh,
somebody's like
no.
tapping the accelerator all the time, the gas, you just like you're rocking backwards forwards and it knocks you a bit sick. And I thought it would be the exact same. Or when people absolutely hammer on the anchors to brake last minute, again, you're getting thrown about a bit. It knocks you sick. But what really surprised me is just how smooth it was, both accelerating and braking. And the journalists that I'd spoken to who tested the FSD, Tesla's FSD previously, they told me that it's aggressive, but it's aggressive at accelerating and braking. So I would have very much experienced what I was picturing I would experience if I'd tested the Tesla FSD. The only way though that the VLA 2.0 was aggressive in its driving kind of manners. It was quite aggressive. It wasn't going to wait around. It wasn't. It would cut in, and I was like, at the certain point, I thought I'm going to have to step in here and take over, because that car's like coming up about to come up my inside, and yeah, it wasn't taking any prisoners. But that's driving in that defensive kind of aggressive manner is how you have to drive on Beijing's streets, and it was very much geared up for that. But yeah, I mean, there was at no point did I have to take over and step in. The journey was about 45 minutes. I drove out of the hotel car park, and once I was on the road, I hit the button and it took over. And for the next 45 minutes, that car was very much in control. The sat nav was programmed. It knew where it was going. It was changing lanes, sorry. It was stopping at traffic lights. It was managing to deal with roadworks, people on bikes, people on scooters, even with riding scooters without their lights on in the pitch black, because I did
Wow.
this at about 7 o'clock at night, and it just totally took it in its stride.
And
Wasn't phased by it.
you weren't sweating and worrying, because I guess there's always that, well, even if you are driving, forget any automatic, sort of AI autopilot going on. I mean, it's bad enough driving around Beijing, I would imagine, let alone any other massive city. But trusting this technology. I mean, did you have any worries at all with that?
I thought I would, but as I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I got out of that car feeling like it just took care of me. Um, and I felt so relaxed. I wasn't on tenterhooks, and worrying at all. There was no point. As I said, I suppose the only kind of, I looked in my mirror and I saw this car coming, about to come up my inside, and the car indicated, and I thought, you're not going to pull across now because you're leaving it quite late in the day. I personally wouldn't do that, but yet again, I'm not used to driving on Beijing's streets. I'm used to driving in the UK, and yes, there are idiots on our roads here who drive aggressively. I don't personally drive like that. Um, but I had to put my faith in the car, and my faith was repaid because it indicated and it pulled in, and the car that was about to come up realised I was pulling across. The other thing as well is the cars around you know that you're in full self-driving mode because you've got blue lights on the car that indicate that the car's in full self-driving mode. So as soon as my indicator came on, even before then, it will have seen the blue light and known this is a full self-driving car. It's kind of handling things itself. Um,
Yeah.
but as I said, I didn't feel like a driver. I think the funny thing is, and I spoke to another journalist after when we got back to the hotel. He jumped out of his test drive at the self same time, and I shouted to him, "Well, what did you make of that?" And he went, "Oh my god, I'm absolutely blown away by it." And I went, "Likewise." And I said to him, "Is it just me, or did you not feel like a driver? Did you feel like a passenger?" And he said, "Yeah, exactly that." And yeah, so great that both myself and Larry from Clean Technica in New York, shout out to Larry, great guy, lovely to meet him on the trip, shared the same opinion of the VLA 2.0. So
I mean,
again, I've
amazing.
got yeah, I'm going to do a write-up of it, and I've got some video footage. Admittingly, the quality of the video footage isn't the best because with it being quite dark and my GoPro was mounted above my head in the car on the panoramic roof, you can see what's going on, and you can clearly see that I don't have my hands on the steering wheel, but footage-wise, it would have been better during the day, but yeah, I got something
I mean,
anyway.
the future's here already, isn't it? I mean, you could argue, I suppose, flying cars or um, things like Little Nelly, things like that that were in James
Mm.
Bond. They've been around for a while, but the reality is, so I guess I could Google this, but clearly there are two seats, are there, in the car, or there are more?
It was a five-seater car.
So it's a five-seater
It was
car.
um it was like a
Wow.
saloony fastbacky car.
Yeah.
It's called the Next P7, and it was the
Yeah.
Ultra, which is like the top of the range one. Um,
Incredible.
got a very Polestar look about it, dare I
Ah,
say
okay.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sharp angles, athletic looking, and it was not that it was in a Polestar color. It was in like a bright lime green, but it looked the business.
Yeah.
By far, I think one of the nicest cars on the roads in China. Whether we'll see it in the UK in the future, I don't know. I hazard a guess to say probably not because we're SUV lovers, aren't we? Here, that seems
Yeah.
to be the fashionable thing, and with it being a saloony kind of fastback, I don't know whether we'll see it.
It's amazing, really, isn't it? When you think about the technology and how far it's gone now, because um, there you are, quite relaxed, surprisingly calm, surprised by the whole smooth experience of this driverless car, and also, from what you say, blown away by the flying car. Um, it's like we've been sort of fast forwarded into this future, and it's now the present, and it won't be too long, I guess, before it's not such a surprise that we see these things maybe flying around or we're being chauffeured around. Because you said you felt more like a passenger than a driver, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the bit that surprised me the most. As I said, I felt more like a passenger than a driver simply because of how at ease I felt by the
Yeah.
technology, how smooth it was with acceleration and braking. Um, and as I said, I didn't have to step in at any point to kind of to bail myself out of a situation. So, which was really good. And let's face it, right? If that technology works in Beijing and works at night when there's scooters flying about in every different direction with no lights on, then I'm pretty sure that it could work here on our roads in the UK. So it'll be interesting to see, what the future holds. But speaking of the future, we could do I could do an episode solely on Auto China 2026, so the Beijing Auto Show, just the technology there is incredible. It really is incredible. I saw cars that were bouncing up and down like those, West Coast low riders that you see in the States and stuff like that. And just, yeah, the tech that's going into them. But the incredible thing is the value of these cars. Luxury boundaries are really being pushed. The tech that's going into these cars, full self driving, all the ADAS stuff that's going into them, you name it, TVs that come down from, the roof liners,
Yes.
reclining seats with massaging functions on the feet for the feet, you name it, these cars have got it. And when you look at the price, you're looking at probably $50,000. What's that?
Yeah.
40 something thousand, quid. And if only we could see them here for that price. And as I said, we won't kind of point the finger at who's to blame for the price of the cars that we see. But yeah, no, just such a fantastic experience. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank XPENG, Xiaopeng, for their hospitality. What a great opportunity. I sincerely hope that I get to visit China again soon. And it's yeah, and I'd love for you to come with me, Tim, so we can see it together, because it'd be great to maybe do an episode of the podcast from China.
Well, I'd love to, and just picking up on what you said a little earlier about the driverless car being a kind of a fastback, um, and that here it's a bit SUV heavy to say the least. Well, it kind of ties in with the Peugeot 408 that I was out testing in Marseille, because that is, as I say, a bit of a mishmash. But if anything, it's more of a fastback. If anyone were to look at it, all right, fastback crossover, but that, because it is so good looking, I do believe it'll take off. I mean, Peugeot has always done well anyway with that. Um, so I do hope that it's the case there. But I have so many questions, and I guess people can look this up on Google or whatever. But so many questions regarding the flying car. How far it can really go. Do you need, presumably, you'll need a license if they come to the UK, because you need licenses for drones, don't you?
Hmm.
Um, Paranoia clearly about crashes and getting in flight paths. I mean, how high did you ever work out how high this thing could go? Just going back to the flying car for a moment.
That's isn't a question that I asked myself. I mean, I call it a flying car. Technically, it's
Mm.
called a land aircraft carrier, is what it's
Right.
called. It doesn't have wheels on it like a car per se, but as I mentioned before, it kind of folds up and goes into the back of a car to charge itself. Um, but yeah, no, I didn't ask the question about how high it can go. I'm led to believe, though, that certainly in China, it's a couple of weeks course that you do to secure your license for it. Um, Obviously, we have different kind of rules and regulations here, and as you quite rightly said, even just to fly a drone here, you need to have a license. So, what kind of iteration of a license, would you need? It's surely not a full blown pilot's license, but at the same time, something a bit more substantial than a drone license. So, um, but yeah, as I said, I think you know, it's a question that we've spoken. Well, it's a topic we've spoken about quite a bit on the podcast, and it's something that I get asked quite regularly. Is the Car Buying Coach UK? Are these Chinese manufacturers a real threat to the luxury brands, the more established ones that we regularly see here? And I genuinely believe the scale, the speed, and the ambition of what I saw personally in China is enough to answer that question. Yes, they are very much gunning for market domination here. I think they stand a very good chance of succeeding. You only need to look at JQ, BYD, and the numbers that they're doing at the minute. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't think it'll be long before your Ramodas, your XPengs, your Changens, your Aeons, they'll capture a share of the market as well. I mean, some of these companies are like XPENG, for example. They are a tech company. Um, and they take that kind of that tech focus and and kind of put it into automotive. However, there are a lot of Chinese brands that may be new names to us. However, they've been in China for, many years, and they've kind of forged something there, with regards to cars. So it's really, really interesting. And I think it's definitely putting European manufacturers on the back foot. I think
Oh,
it's safe to say
completely,
that. Yeah.
completely. I mean, when you think about, um, I did an interview with Jack Constantine, who is the PR manager for Chery UK, and he was telling me about Chery's been around since 1997. So what, scarily nearly 30 years, and it's new to us, but it isn't new to Australia. It's not new to parts of South America or the Middle East. So we're playing catch up in many ways, and as we call them, the legacy brands of the big German players, for instance, and Ford. Uh, you know, we've been so used to all that, and now suddenly, wow, China's in our faces, and we are more used to it being motoring journalists because we've been driving Chinese cars in one form or another for certainly since COVID. But to the average driver, certainly my neighbours, I think we've said in another podcast, quite a few people are now going, "What's that? What's that? I'm
Mm,
seeing that on your drive, and what's that new dealership? What's this BYD thing? What does that mean? A Moda, Jake, Cherry, what?" And
mm,
they just are quite confused. Actually, a lot of people don't realise Cherry, for instance, makes JQ, a Moda, Lepas, another
mm,
brand from Chery, just recently
mm,
launched that we mentioned. And so it's going to take a while for people to realize, but Jack was saying, makes sense. The more cherries you see on the road, the more people will get used to them and the less of a
yeah.
surprise it's going to be to anyone. So, yeah, I mean, the European brands clearly, they've got to have a strategy to fight back. At all this, there is a bit of negative publicity coming through already. I've noticed even on TikTok posts I've put out about JQ, and about how, some people are calling it a you know, Timu car or whatever. So there are some people that go, oh, anything made in China, it's not as good quality. Even if that is the case, the Chinese, will soon catch up, and the quality will be there, no question.
I can categorically tell you now, that's not the case.
Yeah.
From what I saw in China, um, quality is something that they were very aware of, that there was that perception in the Western world that the quality is cheap, it's cheerful, and that's not the case. They're going all out to make sure that what they're producing is of the highest quality. And that's backed up by, the warranties that we've spoken about in previous episodes on these cars that we're testing on launches, these Chinese vehicles. Um, they come in with significant, warranties. No manufacturer will offer an 8-year warranty, 8 years servicing, 8 years MOTs, and that be transferable. It's attached to the VIN like Aeon does if they don't back what they're producing. It's as plain and simple as that, because they'll be absolutely shooting themselves in the foot. Um, Going back to what you were saying about your Team U Range Rover, what JQs are frequently, well, have been dubbed here in the UK. IP is an interesting thing in China, um, in the sense that it doesn't necessarily exist. And I can understand to a certain degree why. A lot of vehicles that I saw at Auto China 2026 do bear significant resemblance to vehicles that we are used to seeing here on UK roads. For example, the XPENG G6, is it called? I think it's called
G6, that was the first
G6.
thing that was out, wasn't it, last year, last February?
No, it can't be the G6. It might be the X6 or X. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to find out. I can't. 1 second. Let me just Google it.
It's the XPENG
Um,
G6.
yeah, which came to the UK, but this one is it. Oh, sorry, it's the XPENG GX. It's called.
Oh,
My
okay.
apologies. Sorry, jet lag. It's the all new XPENG X, which is a full size 6-seater EV SUV. Okay, and it made its debut at the Beijing Auto Show, and that does bear significant resemblance to the Range Rover. However, having sat in a fair few Range Rovers myself, like you'll have sat in Range Rovers, no doubt, and they're a lovely place to be. Very comfortable seats. They've got a decent amount of tech on them. They're very luxurious. But I can categorically tell you the amount of tech, the reclining seats, as I mentioned before, TVs that fall down from the roof, massaging seats in the rears, fridges, you name it, they're fully kitted out. And what's a
Yeah.
Range Rover? A full size Range Rover? I'm not talking a sport. You're probably looking at nigh on £200,000 here in the UK. This G6 is probably about a quarter of the price of that.
And while you were in China, and you've probably heard about this new Freelander is being
Yes.
reborn,
Yeah.
that's an upcoming battery electric, uh, range extended and plug-in hybrid powered car. But that British 4x4 icon is being reborn by Chinese giant Chery with the aid of JLR or Jaguar Land Rover, I hear.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to
Yeah.
look at it?
I didn't, unfortunately. No, as I said, at the start of Auto China 2026, there's 2 days that are dedicated to the media for the media to go and have a look around before it's open to the public who buy tickets to attend it. Unfortunately, my itinerary only allowed me to be there for less than a full day. And as I said, I only probably got to see about a quarter of what was there. There was so much more that I would have loved to have seen and that I've since seen online, other outlets talking about it. Um, you know, so yeah, I'm a little bit gutted in that respect that I didn't get to see more than I did, but I had to do my VLA 2.0 test drive, and then I had to catch a flight back to Dubai, where I ended up stopping for 4 days. It was only meant to be a day there, and I ended up extending my stay. So yeah, which was nice to get a bit of sun and enjoy that. But yeah,
That's so nice you did that. But let me ask you something slightly off script.
yeah,
How are you with flying? Are you okay with flying? Because you and I fly a lot for our jobs, right?
yeah.
Do you ever get a phobia kicking in about flying ever?
Not really. No, I'm a little bit. When we take off and land, you get your heart racing a little bit, doesn't it?
The the
But
second one.
no,
The,
no. I
now the
think the
second
only
one.
time, yeah, the only time where I was actually a little bit worried, and it was so I left Beijing about
Yeah,
20 to 1 in the morning, and I was flying to Dubai, and XPeng looked after me, and I had a very nice seat on the plane with one of these reclining beds, and I took off. We took off. I had something to eat. I started dozing off. The past 4 days in China caught up with me. Lack of sleep there because of the time difference coming from the UK. So I thought, right, it's a 9-hour flight to Dubai. I'll get some rest. So I fell asleep for a couple of hours, and we must have got to near where K2 is, like flying over some mountains. And obviously, when you fly over mountains, typically you get a bit of turbulence. And there was some turbulence, and it woke me up from my sleep. But it was actually the captain had said, "Crew, can you return to your seats, please?" And when the crew have to sit down, then there's going to be some turbulence going. It was about 20 minutes, half an hour of little bit of turbulence, and I was a bit because I was half asleep, and I was like, oh, dazed and confused. I was a little bit like, oh, is this the end?
well,
But
the
no, it was
second
fine.
thing you said Landing. Now, I've never had a problem with flying. And in fact, I used to years and years ago do a bit of PR for a bit of a defunct airline called Britannia. So I got
Yeah, I
to know a little
remember
bit too
Britannia.
much about what goes on behind the scenes, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, takeoff and landing, they're the two. If anything's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong on
Yeah,
those two
yeah,
parts of the journey. And I've never had this before, but as we were flying into Marseille, and this is sod's law because I always text my family, love you, taking off now, let you know when I've landed. And I didn't do it on this flight. And as we were coming into Marseille, all you could see is sea. Then you see the runway. And I had a window seat, and I was thinking, oh, this is normal. Sitting near the back, and you get that kind of sideways kind of that shimmying feeling as you're coming down like this. And it kept doing it. I thought, this is weird. Anyway, the plane came right down to the runway. The wing was kind of this way towards the runway. And then there was this almighty power on again of engines, and we just went like this,
back up,
just all I could see
back up.
was
Yeah,
like the blue sky. And it was like, then it all leveled out. It was like, ladies and gentlemen, the pilots had to abort the landing, and we're doing a go around, and we'll be back on the ground again within 5 minutes due to crosswinds or whatever it was. And I'm sure these things are more common than
it's
I've
happened
ever
to me twice.
experienced.
It's
Has it
happened to me
really?
twice. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did. I mean, I didn't go into. I mean, I'm not worried. I've got to fly again on Wednesday, but I just went into slight kind of disbelief mode, like, I'm sure the runway's kind of running out, and all I can see is sea. That's getting disconcerting. And then I was really, in a way, glad when it went back up into the air. But yeah, so I don't know. It's a missed approach, I think they're called, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. It's happened to me twice. It happened to me once flying into Dublin, and it once at Leeds Bradford. Um, But the one at Leeds Bradford, it was because there was quite a lot of snow on the runway, and the pilot decided to bail out, and we flew to Liverpool instead. The flight was diverted. But yeah, the Dublin one, we were really low, almost touching the runway, and then it went power back on, straight back up, 5 minutes back round like a circle, and then down and touch down, no problem. So yeah, it
Quite,
does
quite,
definitely
quite disconcerting,
gets your
isn't it?
heart racing, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, again, the irony was my colleague was telling me about how he'd had an aborted takeoff only a couple of weeks ago. And so, you get into full power, then suddenly the brakes were on. It was the brakes, real
yeah.
hardcore braking that really got him. And there was apparently an issue with the plane, some sort of burning smell. They had to get off and get on another one. So
Mm,
obviously he was pleased they'd discovered the issue before they'd actually
yeah.
taken off. Because there's a point of no return, isn't there? That
Yeah, yeah,
that you
yeah,
have to commit to. So anyway, he was just recounting and telling me about this tale as what I described earlier happened. So I was a bit kind of, whoa, I take flying for granted. Uh, yeah. So I think I'll continue doing the little messages from now on to my family, just in case. But as a lot of people tell me, and as I used to tell other people from when I years ago did a bit of a job within the airline industry, that you are more likely to get injured or worse on the journey in your car to the airport, and that's kind of a weirdly
yeah,
reassuring thing to know, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. Before we wrap up, there's a couple of more things that I wanted to talk to you about. You haven't just been to Marseille, you've forgotten. Your brain's scrambled. You've been somewhere else as well, because we spoke about it on the last episode.
Oh yeah, I've been to my brain is scrambled. I've been to Milan, haven't I?
Yes.
Um,
Tell us about that.
yes, Milan Design Week.
For a
Naturally,
car
because
launch.
of
For a car launch.
naturally, look, come on, look at the way I'm very designer friendly,
Fashionista.
but it's mainly furniture.
I said this, fashionista.
Hide the logo. Yes, I went along to this because of Lepas, which is, as I mentioned a little earlier, if anyone's hung about and listened to this all the way through, Lepas is a new premium brand which is from Chery,
Hmm.
and it joins, JQ, Moda, and of course Chery is a brand. But this is a separate brand, uh, and I went to see the L6. That was the main start of the show. an SUV, and there was also a slightly bigger one called the L8. Didn't drive them. They were just on show. And the idea of that name, I think we discussed in the last episode, was leopard and passion put together, Lepas, or some people say Lepas. But anyway, that's it. I did ask, actually. I did ask one of the guys there. I said, from Chery, I said, interesting, because the logo's, you've got a leopard. Looks a bit like a jaguar, you know?
Yeah.
Is there any thought process going on there? He went, no, I'm not going to discuss that. So it's more likely me interpreting it that way. It's not that much of a stretch, is it, to look at that and go,
Well, the
that
fact
and
that you
that.
said I'm not going to discuss that suggests maybe your thinking was right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, a very pleasant 5-seater SUV, as I say, with a slightly big one in the form of the L8. And the idea that it was launched in Europe at the Milan Design Week is because, creativity, passion, with a focus on design, that's what, Lepas wants to be aligned with. That's what Chery wants to align it with. And it's a great way now. A lot of cars are being launched at non-auto events now,
Hmm.
because it is about lifestyle,
Hmm.
not just about what goes on under the hood or the bonnet. So a very good, a very lifestyle influencer oriented
You'll have,
launch.
you'll have fit right
You
in
know,
there, Tim.
oh, I was right in there, with them. But again, I managed to interview Chery's chief engineer, uh, John. I should know his name because I did the interview, but my brain's gone completely now. John Wakefield, I think. Sorry, John, if you're not, if you are ever listening to this, that would be a miracle if he was listening to this, wouldn't it, Adam? I want to check.
Hey,
Yes, I was
no,
right. I should have the courage of my convictions. John Wakefield, Executive Officer. No, I've gone mad. I have gone mad. John Wakefield is from Aon. He's the guy we were talking to at Aon a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember?
yes, he was. I was hoping to actually bump into him in Beijing. I didn't, but I tell you who I did bump into in Beijing.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely awful at names. Remind me, Changan. Matt, is it?
Yes.
No,
No,
Nick.
Nick
Sorry, that's it. Nick.
Thomas.
Nick
Oh, it's
Thomas.
come back
But
to me, by the way. Sorry,
Nick
Adam's
has.
cut in there before I've embarrassed myself
Oh, sorry. Right.
any
Okay.
further.
I get you. Yeah.
Getting brands completely confused. John Wakefield is basically the UK boss of Aon that we were talking
That's
about earlier.
correct. Yes.
Peter Matkin, or Matkin, Matkin, is the main guy at Chery. He's the well, on his LinkedIn profile it says he's the site leader at Chery Technical Center Shanghai. But anyway, he was the Lepas lead in Milan, and the guy that we all got to speak with. And it was good to find out. I mean, one of my questions was going back again to what I said earlier. Do you think people, the average Joe or Jane, is going to get completely confused by all these brands coming out? And he said, well, does it matter? Because if they like the car, they'll be led by the car and buy the car, you know?
Mm,
So
no, definitely.
it's about kind of giving customers choice, more and more choice, but it all ties in with what you said a few minutes ago, which is China's aiming for domination of Europe in the auto industry,
Yeah.
you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I've got the right name after all. And you were saying about Nick
Yeah,
Thomas, weren't
I
you?
bumped into
Changan.
Nick in at the Auto China 2026 Beijing Auto Show. It was literally a 2-second conversation, but good to see him. He was absolutely styled out at this at Aeon's stand. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So you've gone mad now as well.
Changan's stand. Apologies, Nick. Apologies to all these brands that we get the names confused. I can get it. My excuse is I've got jet lag and I'm tired.
I
You don't
can't
have an
claim jet
excuse,
lag.
Tim. You're just old. you
Old
you just
and slightly perturbed by the aborted landing. I'll blame it
yeah,
on
but
that,
yeah,
shall I?
exactly. It shook you
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yes.
But no, I saw Nick. Lovely to see him. We had a brief catch up about our launch that we attended, where he was playing the guitar, which was great, of the Chang'an Deepal S05. But yeah, great to see him. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see John Wakefield from Aeon. I'd hoped to have seen him. I didn't get the chance to see him. He'll have been busy, no doubt. So you've been to Marseille, you've been to Milan. Quickly, what cars have you had any cars on test?
Well, as fortune would have it, we were talking pretty much about them earlier. I have, at the moment, I've got the Chery Tiggo 7 on
Mm.
test. Last week, I had the Modin 9.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very impressive vehicle. And a couple of my friends were like, wow, this thing is just over 40 grand, the Modin 9, about 42 purely from memory. Big 5-seater SUV, sort of Volvo size, I guess. They're not quite as big as XC90, I wouldn't have said, or maybe, but certainly XC60, slightly bigger than that. But anyway, a great, very quick car, just over 4 seconds, 0 to 62, maybe 4.6 again. I'm sure some anorak will correct me, but it's around that. A lot of my friends were like, wow, this thing can shift.
Mm.
This 2-ton beast. Well made, actually, inside. Uh, Comfortable, nice car. And the Tiggo 7, smaller, less costly, but again, a very competent plug-in hybrid, this one. And yeah, I'll be writing about it for a couple of business magazines fairly soon. But listen, if we're getting confused through our tiredness and whatever about brands, God help everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, is the Car Buying Coach UK? There's a lot of confusion around all these makes and models that are coming to the UK, and I suppose I'm in a fortunate position that I've got first-hand experience of meeting these brands and learning about their history, their backstory, and then driving their latest offerings. So yeah, that perfect segue leads me into nicely, saying nicely that thanks to the Car Buying Coach UK for powering the podcast. Like yourself, I've got stuff to write up about China. The full China breakdown, the VLA 2.0. I need to write that up. I need to write up about this land aircraft carrier, the flying car. I need to write up about the humanoid robots and Auto China 2026. In terms of cars, I haven't had anything for the past few weeks because obviously I've been away, but I've got something getting delivered. I mentioned it on the first episode. It's the Ranger MSRT. Is getting delivered on Tuesday. So by the time we next speak, I'll still have that because it's a 2-week loan, but I'll be able to tell you a bit more about that. And I've got reviews of some products actually that I'm testing out. So a vacuum cleaner for the car. I'm
Oh,
testing that
brilliant.
out. A mobile hotspot for the car, and a dash cam. So yes, I'm testing out products as well as cars. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well,
And
it'd be
I need
really
sleep
interesting to.
sometime as well.
You do need to sleep. No, it'd be interesting to hear about your the Ranger and those products. Next time we speak, I will have been on the all-new Mazda CX-5 launch coming up.
In Scotland, yeah.
So in Scotland, so not quite as exotic as China or even Marseille, but still, I like a bit of Scotland, especially if the sun is shining. Some
Yeah.
great roads.
Beautiful
Mazda
place, yeah.
never disappoint. They never disappoint with their test runs. They're always, well over the 100-mile mark. So yeah, I'll be flying actually up to I think Edinburgh and driving from there on a few circuitous routes. But yeah, it'll be interesting to talk about Mazda and where that's going, as well as lots of other subjects in our next episode.
Definitely. Don't forget that you can watch or listen to all of the episodes of Kickin Tyres on all major platforms. We're on Amazon, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify and YouTube. And also don't forget that we are across all socials as well. The Kickin Tyres podcast is powered by the Car Buying Coach UK. So if you need one-to-one advice and guidance around what car to buy based on your lifestyle, your needs, your wants, your preferences, please get in touch with the Car Buying Coach UK. Tim, great to see you. Sorry that my brain's fried and your brain's fried. It's been busy, hasn't it?
It's been busy. Don't be sorry. It's been a great episode.
We've had confusion on this episode. We've had technical issues on this episode. And hopefully for those who've stuck around for the entire episode, they've enjoyed it. So I look forward to speaking to you again soon, mate.
And G, before we go, happy birthday, Anna. See you on the next one, mate.
Happy birthday, yeah. Happy birthday to you. Enjoy your day. All right, mate. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Adam. All the best.